So I kind of just realized that I should have been covering each of the servants as they went on raid up for this like Thanksgiving rotating banner, and I kind of forgot to do that. So, I mean, I really hope you summon for Gilgamesh. He's very, very good. Saber Shiki is okay. She has a lot of niches. It's just the one problem with her is that she can't loop as efficiently because she might insta-kill enemies. That's really her only issue that she runs into. Other than that, she's really good. And you know, there was other servants on raid up as well that we don't really care about all that much. But anyway, we have Musashi on raid up right now, and a while back when I first started the channel and I talked about Sigurd, I mentioned that people compare Sigurd and Musashi to one another, and I guess we'll kind of get into that in this video. So Musashi's deck is built like a berserker. She has 3 buster cards, 1 arts, and 1 quick. The quick and arts have 3 hits on them, the busters have 2, and she has 4 hits on her extra card. Now, 4 hits on the extra card is fine, but 5 is really that sweet spot for an extra card, so she's kind of lacking there, but the other cards are pretty fine. Now, the 1 arts card might seem like it's going to be hard to gen her NP, but she has a really high NP charge stat, and she's very similar to Ereshkigal, where she has the 1 arts card, and with a certain skill active, she can gen a ton of NP at one time. So her hits aren't actually all that bad when you consider what her skills do in conjunction with those hits. Again, her quick card is also fine with one of her other skills. Now, her first skill is pretty much Musashi's bread and butter. It's what she's known for. She can double her hits for 1 turn, although she has a penalty to reduce the damage but also increase the damage done when normal attacking, so that way her damage kind of normals out, like she's not doing like super supreme damage or anything. But the reason this is really good is because it basically gives Musashi 6 hits on the quick, 6 on the arts, 4 on the buster, and then 8 on the extra attack. So in that turn, she can gen a lot of stars, she can gen a lot of NP, and do a lot of damage with her extra attack. It's kind of what fixes her deck. The only problem is that it's only going to be active for 1 turn on a 6-turn cooldown, so you're not going to be popping it all that often unless you have somebody that can reduce skill cooldown and kind of help her out in that aspect. And considering that Musashi is a buster servant, you do want to be getting your NP as quickly as possible, and you want to do as many attacks as you can. But the buster playstyle is also your main attacker does a lot of damage, then Merlin and other Merlin kind of just sit there, regenerate everybody's HP, wait for the skills to come back, and then you do another round of burst damage. So, I mean, honestly, she should be pretty fine with that. Her second skill is also very, very good. It's pretty much her damage skill. You pop this when you're going to use her NP. She gets ignore invincibility for 1 turn, and she gets a 50% buster mana burst for 1 turn as well on a 5-turn cooldown. So this is what's going to let Musashi do a ton of damage. And nobody's going to be able to dodge or evade your attacks because she has pierce invincibility. So you're pretty clean on that front. There's not a whole lot else to say to this skill. It's just a very, very solid skill. Then finally, there's her survivability skill. She gets invincibility for 1 turn. She buffs her critical star drop rate by 30% for 3 turns, which is why I was saying her quick cards are pretty fine. This combined with her first skill means she can actually drop a decent amount of stars, but then she also cleans up her debuffs. So if you got hit by a lot of boss debuffs or something, this will allow Musashi to get a very clean hit in. You know, she can remove all the attack debuffs, remove any like poisons or defense debuffs, and she'll be pretty fine. The only problem is that, well, yes, these remove debuffs technically can remove stun and charm and all that stuff. You can't actually use your skill because you are stunned or charmed, so that's the only problem with this skill. It can't save you from that. Whereas someone like Sigurd has the debuff immunity, so he can't actually get hit by that, but we'll get into that comparison in just a little bit. She does only have 1 passive skill of debuff resistance by 20%, so while she can remove any debuffs, this will kind of help her dodge some stuns or charms if that would come your way. But then finally, there's her NP, which has been upgraded, and it does big unga bunga damage and does extra damage to alter egos or moon cancers, which kind of, you know, makes sense considering the way the story is going for the Lost Belts. It removes their buffs, which unfortunately doesn't activate first, but it's still nice to just yeet all of your opponent's buffs off of them. In fact, you could kind of use this as a combo attack. You could use this NP to lead into another one. So say that has a lot of defense buffs on them, you could use Musashi's NP first, remove all of that, and then have somebody else attack after that, and they'll do a ton of damage. She also does the Gilgamesh effect, where she increases NP damage before she attacks from 30 to 90% depending on overcharge. So Musashi is hitting really, really, really hard with her NP. In fact, she technically has the hardest hitting NP in the entire game. She does really, really big damage. damage. And considering that there's not a whole lot of counters for like alter egos and moon cancers, I mean, moon cancers you can bring a ruler, but your options for rulers are kind of limited. Like there's Qi Shi Huang, who's like story lock. You got Amakusa and Jean, but they're not like the best. Like Amakusa's being fixed, so he can use him a lot more, but he's not super great yet. Like he probably needs like one more skill buff and then he'll be like phenomenal. Jean is a potato that doesn't die. As much as I love Jean, she is kind of just a potato that doesn't die. And you have like Swimsuit Martha, who I know the meme is that she's always beating up on BB, but she's not the best. Like her skill set is very basic. I've already gone over her on the channel, but she's not the best one you want to use. So having someone like this Musashi who gets a fat damage buff against these moon cancers is super good. And alter egos, I mean really, if you're not using Kama, you're probably going to bring Musashi to that, especially because Musashi's kit really does come together to make a very powerful servant. Now, should you summon for Musashi if you have somebody like Sigurd already? That's kind of the debate, because Sigurd is right there next to Musashi when it comes to NP damage. He does very, very big damage, and his NP is not even buffed. So Sigurd might actually start rivaling Musashi in damage depending on what they do with his NP when they upgrade it and what they do with some of his skills when they buff them. They also function differently. So Musashi's survivability is invincibility, but if the opponent has pierce invincibility or removes that, you know, obviously she can die. Sigurd has guts, so Sigurd will die, but he will revive, and then it also kind of ties into some of the game mechanics where like if you proc guts, the enemy will stop attacking, you know, depending on where you have Sigurd. So that can be better for certain situations. Musashi can cleanse her buffs. Sigurd doesn't cleanse his buff, he just has debuff immunity, so he's not going to get debuffed in the first. So it really plays into kind of how you want to play the game and what you really need for this boss fight. If you really like Musashi and you do have Sigurd or another really strong single target buster saber, then by all means go ahead and summon for her. She's not bad, and when she starts getting a lot of these upgrades, she'll become even better. But I wouldn't say that she's a necessity, like a must summon, but she is very, very good. But with all that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here. You guys, let me know if you're gonna be summoning for Musashi. I did one multi, and I got a kaleidoscope and NP like 9 Theon, so unfortunately I spent most of my quartz, like 180 of them or something, on trying to get NP to Ereshkigal and completely forgot that we get Thanksgiving banners, so they really big brained on me this year. But with all that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here. You guys have yourselves a nice day. Peace, late guys.